spaghetti.
S-D-P, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Aha! 2021, we've been waiting for you. We've been waiting, and you're here. And you know what? Listen, it's a little dark right now, at least here in Ontario. We're in a lockdown for month 3 now? 2, 3? I don't know what we're in.
For you clowns.
That's true. And then
I was getting my hair cut before Christmas.
The entire province. Yeah, sure.
What? I knew about the lockdown, but okay. So my hairdresser, before it even hit the news, was like, "Hey, so I think there's going to be a shutdown, and you need to come get your haircut right away." I was like, "Okay."
Was that the receptionist at First Choice?
Wow. How am I the one getting chirped for my hair on this show? Adam, get your wolf mother ass back on the screen. How is this guy?
I'm sorry. Also, no offense to anybody who gets their haircut at First Choice.
That was when I first moved here. How dare you? How dare you?
It's just at one point you actually did get your haircut at First Choice.
I did.
It was his first choice.
I stopped. I stopped for reasons. How is my hair the one getting chirped?
My hair is great. I don't know what you're talking about. My hair is fantastic. I look boyishly handsome. Thank you very much.
There's a compelling, Adam.
This is a reason for anybody who doesn't regularly watch the podcast to maybe hit up YouTube and type in the Steve Dangle podcast, because Adam Wilde got what do you call it? A blowout?
I gave myself a blowout.
He got a blowout.
Yeah, so I got some curl. So basically, I got to the level of the pandemic where I'm like, okay, my hair, I can't slick it back anymore. Like, it's curly anyway, but like I can't do anything with it anymore. I haven't had my hair cut since October already. So try something else. What does it look like when it's obscenely curly? So I showered, I washed it, which I do once or twice a week. I shower more than once a week, by the way. It's just the hair wash you don't do.
Never your legs, though.
And never my legs. But so then I put I put curl cream in it, but you're not supposed to, like, this is what I learned. You're not supposed to take your towel and like brush it dry or whatever, because that ruins the curl. You're supposed to let it be wet, and then you kind of put your head over, and then you put this curl cream in it, and then you use it, those diffuser things, the big attachments for your blow dryer.
This is a thing that I know about. Yes.
And then you kind of scrunch it up, and that's what I did. And I put it on Instagram last night, fully expecting to get lit up, and people kind of liked it. So I'm like, well, you know what? I guess I'm going to keep it.
The more I stare into your adoring eyes, the more I'm like, you know what? He do be rocking it, though.
See,
it's good.
I don't think people really knew how curly my hair was too. Like in the summertime, this is just what it looks like. It's just
no, it's not. Adam's lying. That's not true. I've never seen you look. No, you haven't looked like this since high school.
Well, yeah, and I did look like this, but this is my natural hair. This is what it kind of looks like.
I'm like, it's weirding me out that.
But I never blew it out in high school. Sorry, what's that, Steve?
It's weirding me out that you don't have braces. Like, I think that's what's making this all look weird.
Well, it's because I'm long past that point, and thank God for that. And a lot less acne.
Give your teeth a lick. There you go.
Feels good.
And you can't do the thing that I do, because my hair is a total shit show right now. But I just throw on a hat every day.
No, my head's too big.
Do that because your head is too large.
Like every time I tell people that my head's too big for a helmet or a hat, they don't believe me. Like it's almost like a foreign concept to them. And so I every time I have to do it, they're like, "Here, put on my hat. I'm like, here I go. I'm dance monkey. Put it on, and like, of course, it's like it just fits around the crown of my head, and they're like, "Oh wow, your head is really big." I'm like, "Yeah, I've been trying to tell you that for 10 minutes. Thanks for putting me through the test, though. I appreciate it."
Just take a trash can, or I'm sorry, a barrel, and put it on your head.
I like that transition, sir. You know, we got a lot going on the show today. I'm in mid conversation with Chris Johnston to bring him on. Today's the special anniversary of something particularly funny. Chris was there for, and he's going to tell the story about that if we can get him on. He's obviously working right now, so you know, Chris is if not, we'll get him next week. But this is a really, really good story, and we definitely wanted to come on and tell, and maybe talk a little bit about Leafs camp as well. We will talk about the World Juniors. Like so much to get through, and of course a little bit of a season preview in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we're gonna hit a couple divisions today, and then a couple divisions next week as we kind of get count down to the NHL season starting, and also Pierre-Luc Dubois and Patrick Laine, and the Panthers are allowing fans in this year as well. So there's lots to talk about, starting with the World Junior Championships. Obviously,
U.S. cheated.
Well, they didn't. They,
Stop the count. No,
it's funny. You never want to be the really good team that hasn't faced some sort of adversity. Like I would rather be on a team with 1 loss than 0. Does that make sense?
Yes, I know what you mean. And
so Canada, it was funny. There was a lot of talk going into this game, and I cannot stand this kind of talk because they hadn't won anything yet. But the talk was this could be one of the greatest Canadian teams of all time.
With an enormous asterisk that they have to win gold.
Yeah. Right. And so first of all, for me, the conversation can't begin until they've at least faced one test. And if you watched any of the games, they didn't face a test. Not a single team was that good against them. And I mean, Russia beat the United States, but obviously Russia was not great against Canada. So it's not really much of a test.
They look horrible against Canada and horrible in the bronze medal game. Did you watch the bronze?
Yeah. No, I didn't see the bronze.
That was sad.
Was that
They didn't want it. The Finns did.
Slava Fetisov, who was the head of the Russian Sports Federation, like basically the head of their sport, basically said that none of the Russian team players could have made Team Canada. And that's pretty, I mean, I know Europeans are known for being a little bit more frank and a little bit more emotional in their quotes. That's pretty intense and pretty telling. And I don't necessarily think I would agree with that. I think there's probably 3 or 4 guys on there that maybe would have been on Team Canada.
But even 3 or 4.
Right.
That's it? Russia?
Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild. Rachel Dory said I think 4, and that's wild for a country that's supposed to be that good.
Does that speak to where Canada's going or where Russia's going?
I would say where Russia's going because it's been like an even race, right? Mm-hmm. Or roughly. They've sort of been neck and neck. It's 4 or 5 countries. Canada's usually in there, sometimes at the front, sometimes trailing behind a little bit. But Russia's taken a little bit of a step backwards developmentally. Oh, God, I retweeted a thread last night. But basically, I remember hearing a lot about this back when I covered the KHL. There's so much politics in Russian hockey, and even more so than Canada, a lot of nepotism and stuff like that. But it's a lot of who you know. It's a lot of who you know, and a lot of who is good now and not who's going to be good later. It's not a good emphasis on development. I listened to part of the Canada-Russia game in the car, and they made a great point on the radio. Yaroslav Askarov has had, I think, 5 coaches this year.
Wow.
This year, in a season where a lot of players haven't even played. And this is the most hyped goalie prospect since Carey Price. And he looked terrible.
He did.
He looked terrible.
You're allowed to have a bad game. You look terrible versus
Canada, not.
Yeah. Yeah, he was okay in the bronze game. He was okay. Yeah. He's not an aesthetically pleasing goalie to watch. He's really jittery on his feet and everything. Also, the right-handed. I used to be used to that.
That's so weird, right?
When I was younger, but now no one does it. It's really weird.
Yeah. So Canada, Russia, there's no real challenge for Canada. And that was my big problem going into this game was like, okay, so we're going to call this one of the best Canadian teams of all time because they've had no challenge. And it's not that they weren't very, very good. And maybe the reason they had quote unquote no challengers because they were so good. But let's be honest, they got the luck of the draw on that one. They got an easier round robin in the United States that they just did.
Yeah.
And then you look at the way the United States came out, especially in the first period of this game. I felt like I was watching another team with a leaf on their sweater.
The Canada?
I felt like I was watching the Maple Leafs. It's just the United States came out and they set the tone, and that was it. It was sort of like they Canada came back at the end, as the Leafs often try to do, but it's that first 10 minutes that really kind of set them up, I think.
Okay, so what I was talking about in my videos is identity. So when you play the Finns, what do you expect?
Well, skill, a lot of skill, and good defensive two-way players, that kind of thing, right?
For me, it's annoying players.
Bunch of Saku Koivus.
Yeah, they're not going to give up.
Yeah.
Russian, skilled. Canadians, kind of hard knocks heavier, which I thought was the identity of this team. The States, over the last few years, to me, have developed this identity as the fastest team in hockey. And Canada was not ready for it. They hadn't faced anything like it. They couldn't get anything going. They couldn't get out of their own zone, even when they had the puck. And they never really figured it out until the States sort of got back on their heels a little bit in the final 10 minutes. That's when Spencer Knight was actually tested.
Right.
And if you give a goalie who's that good only half a period's worth of dangerous looking shots, I mean, you're really leaving a lot up to chance.
You are 100%.
You play that game again, Canada might win, but
you play it once. That's the tournament.
Play it once.
And they hit a post too at the end. But even then, are you convinced even if that goes in? Right. And you're going to hit posts in a game. That's what happens.
And like
if that went in, if Kirby Dykes play, you know what I mean? Like it's sort of, there's a lot of whataboutism going on with Canadian fans right now. It's almost embarrassing. Like on Twitter,
don't play that game.
Don't do that.
It's such a waste of time.
The great win, United States. We weren't even playing our best players. Yeah, well, they didn't have Nick Robertson.
Exactly.
Like,
and you can do that every year. Every year. They didn't have, or Lafreniere.
Yeah,
but they didn't have Robertson. So
it's the best that you can put out on the ice at that moment.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. And if Canada is this deep, and then we should be winning. And obviously the United States have put together a really, really tough program to play against. My question is this Canadian team as good as we thought they were going in? Meaning that there was a lot made about how good they are. Are they actually that good, even though they lost the game?
My thing with the team was that the Americans showed up with the attitude it took to win winner take all gold medal game. Like what I saw from Trevor, like pregame, is what you want to see from the Canadians. You want the guys to come in with all the confidence in the world and know that they're gonna take it, and that's what it felt like the Americans had going in. They had the nobody believes in us. Also, they had the we're gonna dominate these trash can Canadians. And
by the way,
it reminded me of.
Can I just say quickly, Steve? 10 out of 10 troll job. 10 out of 10. Like they took a picture with the trash can. Beautiful.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because supposedly
they walked it back after. But coming in, that's the energy they had. That was what was going behind them, and that's what you want to see from the Canadian kids. And I feel like they didn't have that, so they can't be regarded as this great team if they don't do it at the gold medal game. I think that's it, point blank, right?
The States' confidence going in reminded me so much of the Russians in 2011, I think it was, because
2011 when they beat 10 Canada.
USA. Yeah. So Canada's up 3-0 heading into the third. I'm sitting behind Zach Cassian's family. We're talking about like, when are you going to go down and take a picture with them and stuff like that after the game? But Russia scores to make it 3-1. And we all go, okay, it's fine. They're still up 2. Russia gets another one quick. I can't remember if it was Kuznetsov or Tarasenko, but they literally are skating by Canada's bench, taunting them. Like, bro, you're losing. But that was the energy they had. And then it was bang, bang, bang. Canada never even had a shot after that. Never had a shot, not even close.
And you know why?
And the States sort of came in because it's amazing.
No, and they're 18. Like, when you're 18 and you're a dick to people, like it's so much more powerful because you're 18. You genuinely don't care.
Yeah.
If I was that good at anything when I was 18, I'd have been that too.
Yeah,
right. But I wasn't.
100%. Yeah. Jesse, do you mind sending Jesse? Just this is a show note, but do you mind sending Chris Johnston our Zoom link because he's ready to rock and roll whenever we are? So do you mind just sending that to?
You want to do the trash cans, or you want to?
Well, let's do the trash cans, and we'll bring Chris on.
So they take a picture with this trash bin that has the Team Canada logo on it, and after the game, they said, no, it's actually our team motto, one barrel at a time. To which most of the internet responded, bullshit.
Yeah.
Even I want to say it was Greg Wyshynski's like, they're good at hockey, not so good at making up things on the spot. So then I got text this morning, though, or tweets apparently it is a saying, but I got a great response that is, it's a great saying. It's a great sentiment. It's basically take the tournament one shift at a time. Don't look at the whole tournament. Just win each shift, right? So it's a great sentiment. But then they admitted, they're like, the optics are horrible. Because even if it means the world to you and you're like, it's about this barrel, one barrel at a time, you get on the ice. Bro, it looks like you slapped Team Canada logo on a trash can.
It's not like they couldn't have had a barrel shipped in from Amazon. Like they could have got a barrel.
Yeah.
They just didn't. And I
like
think,
a wooden barrel.
Yeah, sure.
Like a pirate.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
Like
they could have had it dropped at the arena for them.
Yeah. But they had this plastic like rain thing. It's, I don't know, whatever.
I think it's kind of cool. And I'll tell you why. Just because there's no way that these two teams ever go head to head as they're constructed ever again. So
it's the heartbreaking thing for these kids, eh?
Yeah. Well, but that's what I love about it, is that it's sort of, remember how, like, and I hate to bring this up this way, but Don Cherry used to be like, oh, don't embarrass your opponent, blah, 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 blah. It's something I don't get in hockey at all. Embarrass the hell out of your opponent. If they're playing like shit, make them feel it, and then be ready to play them the next time when they try to come after you. It's like, back off the gas pedal. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, except for when we punch their brains out. It's such a bizarre hockey thing. I think the Americans played it perfectly. Put the Hockey Canada logo on a trash can, bring it on the ice, take a picture with your gold medals and everything like that, and you never have to play them again. There is no redemption.
No, even like Connor McMichael in a few years is going to be lining up, against Trevor Zegras in the NHL. Yeah, and Zegras is going to be able to hold that over him until McMichael finds something else. Even if he finds something else, hey, I want a cup, you haven't. Yeah, well, gold medal. Gold medal, they're a trash bag.
One of the biggest winners out of the whole gold medal game was the Florida Panthers, because that was both their goalie prospects.
That's how wild is that? How bad does the Bobrovsky contract look?
Oh yeah, you got these two guys just waiting there, and then you got Bobrovsky.
But they could be 3 years
unnecessary.
Away. You could be one good and 2 bad Bobrovsky seasons away from that, right?
Oh yeah.
Because remember, he's hot one year and he's awful the next. That's the rules.
He'll be LTIR'd. He'll be LTIR'd within 4 years. Watch.
Right. 100%. And 2 of those years will be Vezinas, and the other 2 will be awful. Play himself right out of the league. And welcoming on here very soon, we just see we're seeing his camera pop up. Oh, look who it is outside the Leafs practice arena that he's not allowed in because he's a security risk.
There's things happening in here. We're covering a training camp. I'm gonna get in my car. It's gonna be a little bit cooler, warmer, rather.
Yeah, I would imagine. So, strangely enough, so Chris has got to go to the practice area to shoot his hits for Sportsnet. But Chris, you are not allowed in, which I think is pretty rare, isn't it?
Yeah, the Leafs, at least to start training camp, are one of 7 teams where there wasn't local allowances to have reporters in. So 24 teams, reporters are in right now, watching practice and covering it as normal. And here in Ontario, the Leafs and the Senators aren't able to do it because the provincial lockdown is preventing that.
So
in Florida, you get to breathe on all the players.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, we don't care.
Yeah, Texas. Basically all the places that are allowed to have fans at the start of the season, a lot of those governments aren't as concerned about this stuff.
We've heard about the Panthers being allowed, but do you know who else is allowed to have fans right away?
Yeah, I think Nashville is planning to. The short answer is I don't know 100%. I think Nashville and Vegas are able to pretty soon, if not off the beginning. I expect Tampa will, because they've been having about 3,000 fans at the Raptor games played out of Amalie Arena.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there'll be many more beyond that. I mean, initially it's not going to be a lot, but the hope from the NHL is you don't have the playoffs starting till May. So they go through May, June, and into July. Vaccines get rolled out. Maybe these lockdowns stop and there'll be more and more as the season goes along.
Chris, we did want to bring you on there's a story I want you to tell, and I don't think Steve knows the anniversary of what today is, but it's a very special anniversary. We'll get to that in a second because this is going to be a great story. But I do want to know, what your initial thoughts on training camp are with the Leafs, given the access that you guys have had. I'm not even sure if they're streaming anything. And the question periods. What have you found out? What's been surprising and what's been kind of routine?
I think the biggest surprise probably to start camp is the fact that Travis Dermott is outside the Leafs top 6 at this point. And
Wow.
the one thing I haven't been able to glean entirely is that are they trying to light a fire under him a little bit, have him compete for his job, or is he really in danger of not playing many games this season? I think it's too soon to say. And let's face it, we can get all bent out of shape about this line or that line, but this is a sport that tends to include a lot of injuries at the best of times. Yeah. There's even more uncertainty this year with COVID. We've seen the other sports, teams have had to deal with, whether it's the NFL or even the NBA, some positive tests and things of that nature. So, I don't know how this is going to shake out, but I'd say that's the biggest surprise that, if game 1 was today, it doesn't look like Travis would be dressing for that game just because he played all 56 games he was healthy in last year. Beyond that, the Joe Thornton on the top line news made some waves. That's kind of interesting. And I just get the feeling in general, there's maybe a bit of a different vibe from Sheldon Keefe. I mean, it was a bit of a kumbaya kind of deal when he took over for Mike Babcock, back in November 2019. The team was in a tough spot at that time. He pumped music in net practices and had all these skill sessions, whereas it sounds like this has far been more like what you might expect from an old school training camp. Lots of drills without pucks, lots of skating and conditioning, and maybe a little bit of a tougher edge from the head coach than we saw in his first half season here in Toronto.
I mean, I didn't cover the Marlies a ton, but that's what I expected out of Sheldon Keefe. He was kind of prickly. Right. So this to me is just a return to normalcy.
Yeah, and I think, what's interesting is he said that he just felt like this wasn't even an option for him when he took over the Leafs. He said, the energy and morale around the team was low. He felt like he had to kind of pump them up and not in motivational speech sort of way, but I think, try to bring in some positive flow, I guess, in the work situation for his players. So, this is a chance for him, I think, to put a different spin on things. Obviously it's a different team too. They've added 6 new faces since the loss to Columbus. And so it's a bit of a different looking team, and he had a role in helping lure those free agents here and what have you. So, there definitely is a different vibe, and it's tougher for me to put my finger on it compared to normal, just because I haven't been able to watch the skates and get the same feel for how things are going.
That's got to be tough as a reporter to not even be able to see it.
It is, but I mean, if that's my sacrifice in a pandemic, then I'm living a pretty good life. You know what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
There's lots of people out there doing stuff and that is much different than what's normal. And so, I don't want to come off the wrong way as though I'm complaining, because I certainly understand why this is the way it is. It's not even in the NHL's hands or the Leafs' hands. I mean, the government's setting which stores can be open and which ones can, and which workplaces can be open under what conditions. And right now, those conditions don't allow the media to be in.
I do want to ask you about, there was a quote that Sheldon Keefe said that he hopes this 2-week period will be the hardest of the season. Do you think that the Leafs, do you sense any, I mean, it's hard, but you talk to people every day, and I guess you can get a sense of motivation. And we talked at the end of last season, which was a few months ago, about, how Mitch Marner came into last season kind of feeling a little bit off, new contract, but a lot of, some bitter feelings, I would say, surprise on his end about, how Leaf fans reacted to what was going on this or that past summer and the Darren Ferris negotiations and all of that. Do you get the sense that everybody's sort of like, okay, contract stuff's over for the next 2-3 years. The core is here. We're ready to go, or is it just sort of like business as usual?
No, I think everyone understands this is a pretty unique opportunity because, obviously there's lots of hype around the Canadian division itself, but let's extrapolate that one further. One of the 7 Canadian teams is going to play in the conference final. That's guaranteed as of today. And I think, the bookmakers, people that do the statistical analysis, and I think even the Leafs themselves believe they're the team to beat in the division. And so I'm not going to sit here before a game's been played and say the Leafs are, there's a clear path to the conference final for them. But look, this is a really good opportunity. I mean, they had Boston and Tampa in their division the last 3 years, where the Leafs were on the rise, but those were 2 of the top 5 teams in the league each of those years, basically. And, Boston could have won the cup 2 years ago. They got to game 7 and Tampa won it in the bubble. So, they had to go through two pretty formidable opponents. And it's not to say that the North Division is full of soft touches by any means. Obviously, there's star players right across this division. I think there's lots of reason for optimism in many of the Canadian markets. But I think the Leafs understand, that just it's getting late early here. It's time that they have a playoff run. It's time that they become what they're supposed to become, A, and B, that this is such a unique season, a great opportunity for them. I mean, most of the team has been skating here for 2 months. I mean, I'm only staking out the parking lot because it's training camp officially, but most of the guys have been here. And so I get the feeling there is a different vibe around all of this, because look, if this year doesn't go well, I think the pressure for change will be high. I'm not saying everyone gets traded out of town, everyone gets fired, but this is all they got, so to speak. And so, I don't know that anyone really has to tell them what it means. I think that they understand intuitively that there's a lot riding on the next 56 games plus however they play after that.
Okay. Now it's story time, Chris, because
I'm dying to know.
Much of your time. Okay.
Yeah, I want to ask you more questions, but I'm dying to know.
Yeah, we'll bug you again, Chris. I know that there'll be lots to talk about in the coming weeks, but in the meantime, a friend of the show, Julian McKenzie out of Montreal, tweeted that today is the anniversary of one special particular interview. It also coincides with a coach being let go 6 years ago. Can you speak to the particular exchange I'm talking about and the famous picture where you're actually in it? And we've never asked you about this, but we should have.
Oh.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, how does Julian know that this was the anniversary?
I don't know. I don't know.
This isn't like the day you get married, or like when your partner has a birthday and you got to remember the date. Like how he had any idea that this was the anniversary of that, I would love to know.
Maybe that's the thing he remembers most about Randy Carlyle being fired.
Right. I think Randy was fired maybe a couple days or a day before, or maybe it was today. But certainly I remember very well. It was actually in the building that I'm sitting outside of, and tensions were very high that season around the team. I mean, we don't have to go through the 9-2 Nashville stuff. I remember one of the players was really mad. They played a game in Buffalo that same week, and they said a Leaf fan actually threw a beer onto the bench during the game in Buffalo.
Oh,
but they were just annoyed that that one of their own fans is tossing beer at them during a game. Like, it's kind of insane, right? So and so naturally, whenever you're covering a good team, a big team like the Leafs, and there's lots of media.
Not a good team at that point.
Well, they weren't a good team.
Correction.
That's the point. But when you're covering a team where there's a lot of interest in what they're doing, and what they're doing isn't going well, and there's lots of media, it gets very tense. And so on this particular day, 6 years ago, Dave Festruck, a columnist for the Toronto Star, still covers the team, and Phil Kessel had some words in the dressing room, and awkwardly, and it's so awkward if you watch the video, I was literally between them, like physically.
So what did Dave ask that prompted Phil's answer?
I should have watched the scrum before story time.
Well,
I know the spirit. I know the spirit of the question was about.
Paraphrase.
Wasn't it about like getting coaches fired, basically?
Yeah, basically inferred that he might be uncoachable. And what did he have to say about that?
This guy's such an idiot, or something like that.
This guy's such an idiot right here.
And it was so tense. Like, I wasn't between them because I was breaking up a fight. I just happened to be standing at the wrong place. I mean, I'm not the biggest guy, so usually in those big scrums, I got to be close to the player to get my microphone in, right? I also like asking questions, so I don't like being behind all the cameras. But I got caught right between these two, and there's some hilarious pictures. Like, in modern day times, that would have been a meme in a minute.
Yes.
But we just weren't quite there 6 years ago. So thankfully, I was mostly spared that, except for Julian has reintroduced it to the world.
You guys want me to play it here?
Yeah, play it.
I can play it.
Can I see it?
No, I can't have it up on screen, but I can just play the audio.
You got it
after.
We got it. We'll put the link in the YouTube link so you guys can see it. So,
Oh, yeah, because
Chris,
Phil was walking to the back, like where the players go to change and that, and he was still having the words as he was walking out.
so what do you do in that situation? Do you like, does anyone say anything to Dave? Does anyone say anything to Phil? Or do you just kind of pile out and go, okay, well, I guess that happened?
Well, in this case, Phil was gone. Like who knows? We might not have talked to him for 6 weeks after that. Like literally, he wasn't that quotable around the team. So we didn't see him a lot. I'm sure we talked to Dave. This feels like a lifetime ago. I mean, that's what's kind of hilarious, that it's only 6 years. 6 years in your life passes relatively quick, especially as you get older. But 6 years around a sports team, like all the personnel changes, the coach changes twice. We're on 2 GMs since then. Like, it's crazy how much warp speed gets applied in the pro sports context. But, look, the truth is that kind of thing, and that one's really notable because it was captured. It was a big day. It went everywhere. But that sort of exchange used to happen when I was a younger reporter way more than it does nowadays. I mean, maybe because I've been around the Leafs a lot and they've been pretty good, but there just hasn't been that many tense exchanges in most of the 6 years since. But at that particular point in time, there was a number of tough scrums like that one.
And for anybody that's a Leaf fan that is bemoaning the fact, and I'm one of them, that they haven't won a round since I was in grade 8.
10.
Grade 10? No, grade 8, man. Grade 8, 2002.
2004.
They won a round in 2000. Oh, they did win a round in 2004. That's right. Because it was Philly. Philly was the one that knocked him out, right?
Sure were.
Yeah. Ottawa, they won. Okay, all right, fair enough. So 2000.
Game
so grade
7,
10.
Joe Nieuwendyk, 2 right through Lalime.
Ooh,
2 beach balls.
That was so good. If only we'd known that was it. But the long and short of it is,
Nick Robertson hadn't even played hockey yet by that point.
It was half our lives ago, Adam.
100%. It's crazy. But it's amazing how much, at least we don't have that going on. We've had a lot of heartbreaks since, but at least in the past 6 years, we've moved past that. And Chris, if you were to cap it right now, who is the Leafs' biggest challenger? And then we'll let you go in the Canadian division.
Ooh. Which fan bases do I want to piss off most?
Edmonton, for sure. Edmonton.
Well, I actually think Montreal might be sneaky good this year, honestly. But I would say the number 2 challenger to the Leafs is Edmonton.
Yeah,
I actually do think it's Edmonton. Look, every team has flaws in this division, and so that's what's sort of interesting. All the teams are kind of relatively unproven, and it's a weird year. 56 games, and you only play the 6 teams that you're competing for playoff spot against. I mean, what a strange season. I don't like Vancouver's offseason in a lot of ways. Adding Nate Schmidt, I assume they're going to get Hamonic signed, who's in camp on a tryout right now. That does help, but I just think losing Markstrom could be really big for them. They have a lot of money tied up in their bottom 6, and they don't have a lot of room to maneuver. Calgary is probably lurking in the weeds a little bit, especially if Markstrom plays well for the Flames. Winnipeg, I'm not sure about their blue line and just some of the natural chaos that goes on with like the Line and Jack Roslovic trade talks. That's why I think Montreal is kind of lurking in the weeds, because they have a bit of a mature team, but they have a couple young centers in Suzuki and Kotkaniemi that could make or break their season. I like the Josh Anderson acquisition. I don't know if I like the 7-year contract that came with it, but getting him on their team this season, I think, is going to improve them. This is going to be so much fun. So I didn't give you a great answer, but I'm going to stick with Edmonton, but I'm not saying it with a whole lot of conviction because I can just as easily make a case for 4 of the other teams.
I said Edmonton in my video yesterday that they asked me to predict the whole season. Just because, like, Montreal, I think they improved this offseason. They had the nice little playoff win against Pittsburgh. They went in 24th. You're not counting it. I'm counting it, but like they went in 24th.
And they didn't win a playoff round. That. They won a play-in round, right?
Yeah. Like they looked good against Philly. Like whatever. The Leafs can look good against the team and lose in a playoff series. I've seen it.
Yeah,
I've seen it good against 4
Boston.
times.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Like,
yeah, 100%. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, listen, Chris, I know that you got to get back to work and we've already taken up too much of your time, but thank you for coming on and celebrating the 6th anniversary of Dave Feschuk v. Phil Kessel.
My God, what a world. I mean, I don't know how you guys view this. Not that because you're sort of more fans in this context, but I kind of wish there was a bit more of that sometimes. I don't know why. I'm not necessarily a confrontational guy, but it's all entertainment, right? Like I find the whole thing funny. I bet Phil would laugh about it now too if you had him on.
Yeah, I think he probably would. He probably would. He's kind of moved on and won a couple Stanley Cups since, so I think he's
This is a guy who put hot dogs in the cup on his cup day because of that whole Steve Simmons article. So I mean, like, it's clear Phil can laugh at himself under the right circumstances.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Chris Johnson, our favorite and the fourth member of the show. Thank you for coming on for the first episode of 2021, sir.
Love it. Be well. Enjoy the season, everyone.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man.
Is your Wi-Fi struggling to keep up with your streaming, work, gaming, video calling, and more? What about all at once? When you're connected to your world by Wi-Fi, be sure it's the best. Bring your Wi-Fi up to speed with Orbi Wi-Fi 6 from Netgear. Orbi Wi-Fi 6 is the best and latest in Wi-Fi. It covers your entire home with unmatched speeds and performance for uninterrupted working and learning, video calling, and streaming at home on more devices than ever before in any part of the house. With Wi-Fi this advanced, you're going to want it everywhere. Ready for the best Wi-Fi ever? Find out what makes Netgear America's #1 choice for Wi-Fi at netgear.com/Wi-Fi. That's netgear.com/best Wi-Fi. So that is, I had to, when I saw it come up, Steve, and this is why I didn't tell Steve about this, what we were doing beforehand, because I wanted him to be a little surprised by it.
I was.
It's amazing how much and how little can happen in 6 years. Do you know what I mean? Like you think about 6 years ago, that Phil Kessel thing still feels like yesterday to me.
No, it's weird. It feels like a lifetime ago, and I remember everything about it. Because we
talked about it on the show.
I'm pretty sure you and I spent New Year's Eve together that year, and the Leafs won that night, and I want to say it was over Boston, and they were good. They looked all right. Like they still had all their flaws, but like they were in a playoff position, looked like they might make it again. It was the Leafs who I think they lost 2 or 3 straight, and then they pulled the chute. And I remember this bad luck that we have with news happening just after the show. We had that like 7 years ago, 6 years ago even. And right before we were about to start recording, Carlisle got fired. And this was at your place.
We used to record in my spare bedroom.
Which was 4 places ago for you.
Yes. Minimum. Yeah. Might even be 5. Who knows?
Yeah. And that bedroom, recording in the winter was great because it would get so bloody hot in the summer. We made Justin Bourne melt.
Remember he had that fan behind him. I had a tower fan, and
we delayed the recording of the show. We delayed the recording of the show by like 45 minutes because you had to put together a fan.
Yeah. That place was brutal because it was 35 years old or something like that. So it was really well built. They used to make condos a lot better than they do now. But the problem was it had an undersized air conditioner. So while it was great and you couldn't hear anybody or anything through the walls, it was amazing. The air conditioner was like super undersized, and I would come home, and for some reason my temperature gauges were in Fahrenheit, and it would be 90 degrees inside. 90.
And it was all windows.
It was all windows. It was just hot.
You lived on an ant farm.
Yeah, 100%. And it was it was going to be like $5,000 to fix the air conditioner, to put a new one in. I'm like, I don't have $5,000. Like, where would I get $5,000 to do that? So I guess I'm going to be hot. Like, I guess it's just going to be
hot for $5,000.
I will be hot for $5,000 for sure.
That's
for
funny.
A couple of weeks. It's Canada. Most of the time it's cold.
I still remember the video I made when Randy Carlisle got extended. I'm pretty sure the thumbnail for the video is just me drinking straight out of a bottle of whiskey.
Well, and you remember when they did that, it was because they didn't want the kids to run the school, right? It was sort of like they wanted to show these guys. I think it was Lupo, Kadri, Phaneuf, Kessel, all those guys. Hey, you're not gonna fire every coach that comes in here. You're not gonna Ron Wilson this guy.
Yeah.
And I wondered. I have heard since that the whole Salute Gate thing, which I thought at the time was. Do you remember when they refused to salute the fans? I thought that happened that season as well, and I thought that was a misrepresented situation, meaning that I thought the Leafs were just like, we're not feeling good. Let's not do it. Apparently that was real, and it was a shot across the bow at the fans.
Yep.
And I've heard that since from several reporters who were like, oh no, they meant it. And it's like, imagine they were mad at the coach. They're mad at each other. They're mad at the fans. They're yelling at each other on the power play and getting pissed off. And it was just, everything was bad. You look at the Leafs logo from that year, it was awful. Why did we like that logo for so long?
For several decades.
That's an ugly logo.
Yes.
It is. Anyway, sorry.
And I had it on every thing I owned for many years. Sorry,
okay,
Jesse,
which Leafs moment from that era-ish is the most infamous? Waffles on the ice, Toaster Gate, or Phil Kessel hot dogs? If you're ranking 3 of them. What's 1, 2, and 3?
Okay, so Waffle Gate, I think, is most remembered by fans of other Canadian teams because it's like their go-to chirp. Before Zamboni Driver, it was all about waffles. And I'm like,
not
bro,
my dog.
I've never put that together. Wow. It's like me naming Iggy Airsy or something like that. But no, like it was so long ago that, you know, that famous picture of the Green Men in Vancouver throwing the waffles at the Leaf who's in the penalty box. The Leaf in the penalty box is Tim Brent. Like that's how long ago it was. It was forever ago. But the hot dog thing was just this phenomenon. And it was after Kessel was traded that Simmons wrote that article. Mm-hmm. And then it caused the pension plan puppets to, back when they were in their more cantankerous days.
Oh boy, were they that was crazy.
They did like this whole investigative thing. Like that is impossible because we know that Phil Kessel lives here and there is no hot dog stand near there. He would have had to walk several kilometers. And you're telling me Phil Kessel walked 8 kilometers to go get a hot dog every day?
Justin Bourne, who was on that with us that time, said, big fucking deal. Like he eats a hot dog. So what? They burn like 8,000 calories a day. Who cares? Like, really, who cares? And so I remember
his
that
next article was Michael Phelps eats an entire pizza. It just
burns it in 2 laps.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
Like,
well, didn't he?
Is shaped like a flying squirrel.
The article on him eating so much pasta just to get enough carbs to burn off.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's the infamous Michael Phelps story.
Like if you ate what Michael Phelps ate, you'd be sick. You'd be sick. It's crazy. I do want to say, too, I lived in a building adjacent to where Phil Kessel lived back in the day. So, and the only reason I know this is because our parking garages, by the way, I was in the extremely not wealthy section. I was in a 1-bedroom, 300 square foot apartment that the only room there was it wasn't a 1-bedroom, it was a bachelor. The only room there was in the apartment was the bathroom. So that's the only other walled off area. Everything else was here's the stove. You're sleeping beside it on your bed. But Phil Kessel drove in one night, and I think it was like a Porsche SUV or something like that. And I saw the outline of his head, and I knew it was him. And I was like, "That's Phil Kessel." And then I looked up because I'm nerdy like this. When his apartment went on sale, there was a bunch of articles published about it, and I was like, "It is in that building." And I felt really good. I was like, "I knew I saw him. I knew it." That's my Phil Kessel story. That's
great, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that. When you met him once, right? You met him at the All-Star game?
In Columbus, yeah.
With Justin, right?
And he had already blocked me on Twitter, and he had no idea who I was. He had absolutely no idea. And he was very nice. He was very nice, and we took a picture, and it was great.
That's great. Does he still have you blocked?
Let me check. He must.
You guys have yet to answer my question.
What is it?
I just wanted you to rank those 3 moments.
Hot dogs.
Oh.
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs, number one? Yeah. Okay.
Number one. And the other two were what?
Waffle Gate, and throwing the waffle on, and the toaster.
Okay, so I'm going to say waffle 3, toaster 2, because the toaster is substantial. Like, how do you get a toaster into an arena? Like waffles, I can understand. You can sneak that in your pants. Like that's easy.
Well, the toaster is Carlisle's, right?
Oh man.
Oh, that was I thought someone threw a toaster on there. Like,
no.
Oh yeah, the toaster thing's just hilarious. The good one, Randy.
I can't even find Kessel.
Yeah, number 2.
And Bozak is Bozy 42, right?
Yeah.
I can't even find him.
Bill was P Kessel 81 for a long time. Maybe he deleted his Twitter.
P Kessel.
Yeah, I doubt he's tweeting much these days. So
P Kessel. Yeah, I'm still blocked.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh well,
that's so great. Well, listen, we do have to get on to some other things here. Although we've had a ton in that first hour there with Chris Johnston. I do want to do a quick shout out because we were in World Juniors talk. Trevor Zegras with that tournament MVP, 7 goals and 11 assists. Pretty amazing. And also, I want to throw this out there. This is a tweet that was sent to me by a podcast listener, Jamie, but it's written by Steven at DTSB_98. Defenseman in the Maple Leafs organization. KHL D-Man of the Year 2020, OHL D-Man of the Year 2020, QMJHL Finalist D-Man of the Year 2020, World Junior Championship Best D-Man 2020, World Junior Championship Best D-Man 2021, Muzzin, Riley, and Bodie as well. So that's Lettinen, Hoffenmeyer, Villeneuve, Sandin, and Nemia. It's Nemia, right?
Niemela.
Sorry, excuse me.
I've heard Niemela and Niemela. I think it's Niemela.
Niemela. Okay. I defer to you on that because you know Finnish names much better than I do, but pretty great. Future looks good.
Oh yeah. And I mean, if you look at the, let me bring up the Kevin Papetti tweet. So, being named
Who's that loser?
Am I right?
Pets?
No. So being named the best defenseman at the World Junior, like, so what? Everyone's always like, it's 7 games or whatever. It's a small sample size. It doesn't mean anything. That's often the case, but best defenseman, it's a very good group. Since 2008, Doughty, Carlson, Pietrangelo, Ryan Ellis, Brandon Gormley, he played in the NHL, though, a bit of a bust, Jacob Trouba, Rasmus Ristolainen, Gavrikov, I forget his first name, Zach Werenski, Thomas Chabot, Rasmus Dahlin, Alexander Romanov, who Habs fans are drooling over, Rasmus Sandin last year, and Topi Niemela this year. It's a good list, man. They're very, 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 very likely to have a long NHL career, if not be a star, if you're named the best defenseman in this tournament.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Not bad, eh?
Not bad. Not bad for a team that really hasn't had a first-round pick either. Right. I mean, well, they did this year, thankfully, but they traded some guys away or they've been low first rounders. I mean, this is like
Sandin was practically a second.
Basically. Yeah. I mean, like, what is it after Bourne said, what's the big friggin' difference between 20 and 40?
It's basically after 15. It's the difference between the 16th pick and a 7th. It's not huge.
Not huge.
Yeah. Not huge. Devin Levi was a 7th round pick this year.
Wow.
He's not a CHL player. He's a CCHL player. I think that's Canadian Junior A. I'm not totally sure. I love that. Did you see the Alex Killorn tweet, by the way, about Devin Levi?
No, what he used to take shots on him?
Yeah, when he was 14, and somehow he has a picture of it. And I told a story in a video, I want to say I did after the Russian game, and I'll tell it here. So I went to the naming of the Canadian World Junior team. I think it was 2012 in Calgary. And I was setting up for an interview. I think it was with Brendan Gallagher, who was on that team, Mark Scheifele, and I want to say Braden Shin. And there was a guy who I was there with for Nike. He was a former OHL player. I think he had a cup of coffee in pro hockey, and he would work out with his junior B team. And then he realizes one of the players being named to Team Canada was one of the junior B players who he worked out with. And it was Tanner Pearson. And he goes, he literally goes like, weren't you on that junior B team? Like, what happened? And Pearson's response was basically just, I don't know. I got better. I love that story. I love that because he went from, I want to say he went from junior B to 40 points in the OHL as like a 19-year-old, undrafted, and then 37 goals, like 90 something points. He had such a good first half of his 20-year-old season that Canada was like, well, I guess we got to invite him. Yeah. And now he's got like several 20-goal seasons under his belt, hundreds of NHL games, over 100 NHL goals. Like, never give up, kids.
Pretty great. Now, we got to get into a couple of things. So first off, we do want to do a couple previews today and then a couple previews next episode, discussing the new alignment of the NHL and what our predictions for each team in that new alignment will be. But before we get to that, we need to talk about the fact that the new alignment, as in the North Division, West Division, Central Division, and East Division, all have sponsors. All of them. Pretty crazy.
What's next? They're going to rename the teams?
It's pretty funny to see the reaction to this because First off, you got to understand 15 or more of NHL teams, if you don't know this, in a good year, like say 2019, okay, that was the last good year for revenue. 15 plus teams, not only do they not make $1, would not make it without equalization payments. Would not make it without equalization payments.
To the shock of no one.
So when
They
when
lose
Brian
money
Burke comes,
pre-rev share.
yes. When Brian Burke talks about that Gary Bettman's done a great job helping this league survive, he's not wrong. He's absolutely correct. And from a revenue perspective, you can talk about players deserving more, whatever, salary cap, all those things. And I would agree with you on a lot of those things. The revenue share in this league is keeping it afloat because it's a gate-driven league. And frankly, outside a gate, in a lot of markets, the sponsorship dollars just are not there. So the bigger teams, the teams that garner more attention are helping to pay for the smaller teams. And that's okay because we're trying to develop this sport elsewhere. We like that idea. Now, there are probably 10 teams who, even after revenue share, lose money. So some teams will break even with the rev share. Other teams will just flat out lose money anyway. And there are Canadian teams in that. Like I think even the Jets are $25-30 million in the hole every year, but they're owned by one of the top 50 richest families in the world. So it doesn't matter. Right. They can just light that money on fire. Who cares? But the reality is not great in the best of times for a lot of these teams. These are not profitable franchises in a lot of cases. They might be good tax havens. They might be good things, but the reality is revenue is not there the way it needs to be.
Yeah, and so this doesn't mean that the league isn't profitable.
No,
that
doesn't mean that at all.
These leagues make billions and billions of dollars, but the individual teams on the lower ends are just burning cash.
And billionaires don't hate to lose money on some of their assets because it shields their money. It's not the worst thing in the world. The equity goes up. They lose money every year, but the equity of the team goes up. Now, getting out of that for a second, if you have an issue with the NHL selling sponsorships on their division, knowing what I just told you, really?
You got to understand the necessary evil.
Well, and by the way, everybody even calling this a necessary evil. It's not a necessary evil. It's not evil.
No.
It is necessary, but what part of this, people are like, at least it's not the Smythe division being besmirched. Well, you know what Conn Smythe did? Made money. That's what Conn Smythe's whole thing was. If you actually go into the history of Conn Smythe, he had no money. He got investors. He brought them in and he saved the Leafs. And that's amazing and super cool. But Conn Smythe's whole thing was, how do we make this profitable? Conn Smythe were alive today, he'd be totally for this. And that is something that we need to discuss because the outrage that people have about Honda daring to sponsor a division, Scotiabank daring to sponsor the Canadian division. Why do you care? It doesn't change anything.
And the helmet ads, Adam.
Oh.
How will I know who I'm cheering for
if I can't see the number on their helmet?
The Flames, I want to say it's the Flames and the Leafs both have Scotia. It's going to be friggin' pandemonium. How am I supposed to know? They're both just S's. They're just different colored S's flying around the ice. And I have no idea what's going on.
And you know what? The problem, Steve, already existed. The Flames and Leafs logos were already so similar.
I'm always like, whoa, why do you think I like Jerome McGinley so much?
You thought he was a Leaf.
Half my childhood, I thought he was a Leaf. And then he'd go to the Olympics and actually wear one, and it's like, Jerome, what are you doing? How am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to understand what is happening? Jerome, 7 names or whatever it is. Look up his Wikipedia. He's got 7 names.
He does.
The argument you hear so often is, where does it stop?
Right.
And
that's not an argument, by the way. That's not a valid argument.
That's you yelling, somebody please think of the children.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
That's clutching the pearls.
But logic and reasoning, that's called what is it? The slope or something? The slope argument?
Something like
whatever.
Slippery slope?
Slippery slope. Not
Everything's
a valid argument.
slope.
Not a valid argument. Where does it stop? I don't know.
So where does it stop? So you got advertisements on helmets, advertisements on the division. So soon it's going to be advertisements on the team name and advertisements on the jerseys and blah, 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 blah. Okay. So let's ask a different question. Where does it start? So, okay, you want to get rid of helmet ads and you want to get rid of the division names. Let's go a step further. Let's take away Scotiabank Arena and we just call it Toronto Building.
Iceplex.
Iceplex. No. because Plex is too close to Cineplex.
Oh.
And that's another corporation, and corporations are bad. All right?
Yep.
So then why not? We don't have the arena names. Let's take out commercials. I want to watch the games without the commercials.
Boards? You gotta do the boards.
Yeah, I want the white boards back. Give me the white boards. It really bothers me when I see Pro Line on there. Very upsetting. Takes away from the game.
It's all like, listen, we're gonna sound like bootleggers here, like saying all this, but
no, we're not.
Dude, they gotta make money. How do you think this works?
Yeah.
This is how the sausage is made, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Eat it or don't. But it's what's on your plate.
Well, and the thing is that everybody who's upset about, and I think it was I forget who it was on Leafs Twitter, and I apologize for ripping this off. I think it was, oh God, I can't remember. Anyway, one of Leafs vaunted Twitter, one of the best followers on Leafs Twitter, tweeted out about the fact that, you're upset about advertising on jerseys, and then puts the Austin Matthews crest and the Adidas logo above it, which is on every jersey. Every jersey has an Adidas logo on it.
Right.
And you're upset about advertising?
So where does it stop?
Where does it stop?
Like, listen, I think we can all agree that the Spengler Cup looks a little ridiculous.
You just put stickers on you. There you go.
So what? You literally look like a parent who just gave up and let their kid put dollar store stickers all over your jersey. Like, listen, I understand that maybe we should put a couple barriers up.
You don't want to look like a dictator from a cartoon. You know what I mean? It looks like they have a bunch of medals just on the side of their jersey.
There's no NHL bylaw officer who's going to come and arrest you if you don't call it the Honda East Division or whatever it is.
They just have to do it on the broadcast. It doesn't affect anything.
Yeah, that's it, because they're broadcast partners.
Yes. 100%.
I don't know. You know what? It does remind me of that time I did 3 days in prison for calling it Air Canada Center after it clearly was not that anymore.
Remember when people were upset? I remember when the Scotiabank deal was signed, people were like, but Air Canada Center, like, that's just a classic name. No, it's not. It was
it's
20
a
years old.
sponsor.
It's a sponsor.
It's an airline that sponsored a building. That upset me so much because I didn't understand why people cared. Like,
whenever I walk into Pearson Airport, I shed a tear. Because I'm just like, God, it's beautiful. God. Air Canada.
Oh. Those sponsor rights. They really got me in the feels.
The best part was Air Canada didn't even shed a tear. They were like, well, listen, we had a great run.
Yeah, Scotia outbid us.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it's what happens. They're a bank. They have more money. Weird.
Bruins fans don't go, this is bullshit. They're like, I'm going to go to TD Garden. Watch the Bruins fucking beat the Leafs.
Toronto Dominion Garden to you,
Toronto Dominion Garden.
That's right.
With Raja and Phil.
I was wondering about this, and I think this is actually, like, I wonder if the NHL itself, the NHL brought to you by blank, is up for sale.
Mm.
Like, how much would you have to pay? Listen, everybody's got a price. You could have like Chase Bank, an enormous, or Wells Fargo, or one of those huge American banks come in and go, listen, we'll give you X amount of dollars, but every time the NHL logo comes up, so does ours. I bet the NHL would sell that. But one thing I think they should sell, which is much more likely, is the playoffs as a whole, or sell it round by round. So for argument's sake, the Scotiabank first round.
The Honda Conference Finals?
So why not? One precedent that's already been set is the NBA Finals are brought to you by YouTube this year. So the NBA Finals brought to you by YouTube, and like anything that came up, it was like, it's brought to you by, I think it was YouTube TV. They're actually advertising. So like NBA Finals brought to you by YouTube TV. So it's definitely a thing. Like, it's been done.
Jesse, if there's anything I've learned from the NBA, it's that the fans stopped watching as soon as that happened.
Right. Nobody watched LeBron win.
Nobody likes the NBA. Nobody. Yeah. There are no stars in the NBA. It makes no money. So
no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, so putting that aside for a second, it's not like North, South, East, and West are such great, beautiful names either for the divisions. I prefer Honda and Scotiabank. At least they have some color to them. We're going to start with the Mass Mutual NHL East Division. That includes...
Oh, I got it wrong.
Boston, Buffalo, New Jersey, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Philly, Pittsburgh, and Washington. If you're going to pick 3 teams to come out of this division, guys, 3 teams,
Not 4?
Okay, take 4.
Well, because 4 is the playoffs, right?
I know, but 3 is just easier to remember. But yeah, 4. Take 4.
You're right. Well,
just take 4.
4?
Just do it. Take 4
or 3?
It's 4. It's 4.
4.
Okay.
So I love this division, and I'm probably going to be doing a lot of outside of watching the Canadian games.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the division I think I'll watch the most, just because there's the most rivalries, the most hatred there, because it's essentially the Metropolitan Division.
Yeah.
Plus the Bruins and Sabres. Now the Sabres, most of those teams don't care about. The Bruins have played most of those teams in the playoffs in recent memory, and it was not a good time because the Bruins were involved. Philly, Pittsburgh in the conference final, Washington, they had at least one 7-game series in there. And you know what I didn't even realize until I started shooting my Sportsnet video yesterday? Zdeno Chara has to play the Bruins like 9 times this year.
Oh, I think the Bruins have to play Zdeno Chara 9 times this year.
Yes, they do. And I hope he treats them just as nice as he treats every other team. Get on a ladder and lick that there, Brad. That'd be fun. Oh, I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see that.
I'm sort of upset, and this might sound terrible, and maybe he would have never signed a deal here. But wouldn't it have been great to see Zdeno in the Leafs jersey?
No.
No? You guys are wrong. I want him cross-checking everyone. Let's go. Like, come on. Bring him in.
Everyone should be a Leaf.
Oh, Zdeno should have.
It was like Yager at the end of his career. Don't you want him to be a Leaf? And I was like,
no,
there's
I got
still
that.
something.
Okay, fair enough. So let's make our way through here so we can make this a succinct YouTube clip, you guys, later on. This is very important. So, we're going to the Mass Mutual East Division. Mm-hmm. Your team choices are Boston, Buffalo, New Jersey, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Philly, Pittsburgh, and Washington. Who are the 4 teams you are picking to come out of that division, starting with you, Jesse Blake?
This is an easy one. The Islanders. Too hot to handle. You can't sleep on the Islanders. Coming off Eastern Conference Finals berth last season, they're only going to get better, especially with Matt Martin re-signed for 4 years. I believe in Lou Lamoriello. Next up, Boston.
Jesse, your first mistake. It's actually the Dunkin' Donuts Eastern Conference Finals.
That's right.
Right? How dare you?
I hope paying Matt Martin's salary, by the way. So we're just throwing that out there.
You go.
But okay, Matt Martin, by the way, locked up to a 4-year deal, $1.5 million per season, and that'll bring him to the end of his career.
Lou Lamoriello has given Matt Martin 8 years and $16 million.
I don't understand I even less understand GM of the year last year. Like, I get it when he was winning cups, but the GM of the year thing did not make sense to me. And also, when you've got Matt Barzal sitting on the sidelines and you've got $4.5 million in cap space, why are you signing Matt Martin?
Prove a point, or because you just legitimately think that's the right thing to do?
Jesse, your next choice.
Next up, Boston. Definitely see them still being a cup contender. I don't think they'll go too far in the playoffs, but I definitely think they're going to make it. So we got the Islanders, we got Boston, we got up-and-coming Philadelphia Flyers. I have Carter Hart, stealing a couple games in there. Definitely bring them to the playoffs.
Say Carter Hart in Boston.
Steve, go ahead.
Carter Hart.
There it is.
Sorry, Jesse, have you also been watching Bridgerton?
I might have checked it out.
Yeah.
And then
man. It's a good show.
So we got New York, we got Boston, we got Philly, and lastly, the New York Rangers.
Ooh.
I have Pittsburgh missing the playoffs. I got Washington missing the playoffs. I got New Jersey and Buffalo. I think the Rangers are going to surprise a lot of people. They've made too many nice moves, and having the first overall pick this past season, having Lafreniere on that team is definitely going to help. I think it's going to jumpstart them, and I have them sneaking in as a surprise team because there's always that surprise team that comes out of nowhere. And my bet this year is that it's going to be New York. Steve, who are your 4 teams?
I do have Pittsburgh, actually. Now, eventually their playoff run is going to end. Eventually they're going to miss. I just feel like they did so poorly in the bubble. And even though I don't really agree with a lot of the moves they made in their offseason, like Sidney Crosby just has this ability to will his team. And Evgeny Malkin too. So I just don't see them missing. I got Pittsburgh making it. I have Zdeno Chara's Washington Capitals. making the playoffs as well. Another team that really disappointed in the bubble, but they're going to get there. Bit of a different situation in net, but they're just, again, there's still too much skill there. I think they're going to be good. I have also the up-and-coming Philadelphia Flyers. I had them go into the Stanley Cup final. I was a little surprised to see they didn't do so hot in the second and a half round. But Carter Hart, just another year better. They're amazing. And Boston, even though they took the hit of losing Chara and losing Krug, both on the left, they have an identity. And no matter who they plug into that roster, they're going to play like Boston Bruins. The Islanders I have on the outside because they're currently without their best player. And until they get him back, it's kind of an X factor. And they lose Thomas Greiss. And the Rangers, I could easily see them making it, but I just feel like maybe one more year.
Okay. Now I'm going to
sorry, Devils and Sabres.
Yeah. So process of elimination is how I'm going to approach this division. Who are your 100% going to miss the playoffs? Buffalo, New Jersey, 100%. 100%. They're bad teams. And I know Buffalo Sabres fans are excited. And I know Eric Stahl looks cool with his long hair. Right? And like he looks pretty badass. It's wicked, right? He looks like a Viking. Like, cool, man. Like, I'm
great
happy.
Guy.
Yeah.
I think my favorite interview from St. Louis. Great guy.
So, but sorry, Buffalo does not have it when you compare it to what other teams in this division have. We also know New Jersey stinks, but they're trying to turn it around. It's a development year. So be it.
They're gonna have goaltending though.
Yeah, sure. They still stink.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, who are your maybes
in this division?
Who are your maybes in this division for the playoffs? Because I'm going to say Islanders and Rangers are in the maybe discussion. I put the Rangers in there because they're on the up, and I put the Islanders in there because they're on the down if Matt Barzal does not sign. As of this recording, he has not signed. So to me, the Islanders are not a playoff team. This is a team that already struggled to score goals. And
I think they're on the down no matter what.
Well,
they lost Taves for picks and didn't really replace him. They're losing Boychuk as well. Did they lose Andy Green or no? They kept him.
Thank God.
They kept him. But I want to say, didn't they replace Thomas Greiss with Corey Schneider? That's
another
tough.
Lou guy. Well, it is tough. And I wouldn't. The one thing with the Islanders is goaltenders do well there. The Trotz system is good for goaltenders, and they've got a brilliant goaltending coach. I mean, this is the team that revived Robin Lehner and Semyon Varlamov in consecutive years, so you can't count them out.
Right, however, but if your body's busted, like, what are you going to do about that?
His hip's brutal. And by the way,
they got Ilya Sorokin, the guy from the KHL. So that's different. Pretty big difference over Corey Schneider.
But we still don't know what he looks like in North America. It is a question mark. Yes. And so I would say, for me, as long as Barzal is not in the lineup, the Islanders are not a playoff team. It's not going to happen. So from my vantage point right now, the maybe that is the Islanders, no way. Now, I also look at the Pittsburgh Penguins as a maybe. Now, I lean them towards the playoffs as well, because I don't think you ever bet against Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. I'm wondering, Tristan Jarry's been very, very good. Is Tristan Jarry going to be enough? Is their defense going to be enough? Is the depth there anymore?
Re-entering that equation.
Yeah.
Boy, I really hope Kasperi Kapanen didn't blow it, because supposedly he's got some sort of visa issue or whatever. I don't know if it's his fault or whatever. But
I've asked around, and apparently team's not upset with him about it. So I guess it's. Okay, things do seem to happen around Kasperi Kapanen, but this might not be one of those things that happened.
It's a pandemic, and there's continents involved.
What's ever happened to Kasperi Kapanen? I don't know.
Oh, things just happen. Nah. He just happens to be there when they do.
Nothing's ever happened.
It's quite cheeky.
Right, yeah, and apparently he's a lot of fun. I'm not taking shots like that. They're just
totally.
Some people are accident prone. Am I right?
But we're talking about a guy who's got an opportunity to play with Sidney Crosby.
Yes.
And let's say he's a week late to the season, and whoever Crosby starts with is hot as a pistol. All of a sudden, you maybe never get that chance.
Yeah, and you got to play with Gino. Shit. What a bummer.
Maybe if you're lucky.
Bummer. No, oh come on. If you're lucky, they gave up a first-round pick and Hollander for him. He's playing in the top 6.
Yeah, you're probably right.
They don't have any. Right. Who else is going to take his spot?
Jake Gensel.
Is he even there anymore?
No, Gensel's there. No, who am I thinking? Jason Zucker, who I forgot they completely had.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
They don't have Hornquist anymore. No more Horny.
Hornquist is gone, yeah. So I'm going to say Buffalo, New Jersey, Islanders not in. Pittsburgh's a maybe, and the New York Rangers are a maybe. Boston, Philly, and Washington, to me, are locks. I'm trying to decide between Pittsburgh and New York who I like the best.
Pick your 4. What is this?
I think
Pick 6
based on this.
List the rest of the teams, too.
You're going to list New Jersey again, Adam?
We're breaking down the divisions. I'm trying to talk about players.
Yeah, break down the rest of them.
But I'm thinking that because Artemi Panarin's coming off an MVP caliber season, that I'm going to go with the Rangers on this one. I think they've got the goaltending. I think they've got the young stars. I think Lafreniere is good for 40 points in 56 games. I think the New York Rangers are going to make it, and I'm calling for the Pittsburgh Penguins not to. I don't mind eating my words later on, but I think the New York Rangers are going to be scary good in a couple of years.
I will say this with Lafreniere. The more, because people are releasing their models. Oh, here's how many points we think this team is going to get, or these players or whatever. The least predictable are the guys who have not played NHL games yet. Right. And Lafreniere, I think, is maybe the biggest X factor potentially in the league, because how do you properly calculate that? He's never set foot in the NHL.
Can I just say that those models are garbage?
Like, you can say it.
You can say whatever you want, man.
Okay, that's how I feel. Like, okay. I don't believe your computer's generating how these guys are going to play together over the course of a season. You're guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously, but it's like educated guess, right?
Okay, but it's not based on anything.
Yeah,
because there's no knowledge of the future. Like, you're not a time machine.
I know they use information and educated guesses for the guys who have never played before. But I just feel like those are the teams that always, where did this come from? What do you mean, where did it come from? All the rookies.
Right.
Where it came
but it's
from.
Also, how do you predict the Leafs if half the roster is turned over?
Right.
What is your computer going to say that how this line's going to play together? How is Thornton going to play on the first line?
Well, you got to say something.
Right.
And you got to say something, and this is
your opinion on the matter based on like the history and not, hey, this computer says Thornton scored this many points over his career, and this is how many points the Leafs are going to get. Like,
I don't think anyone's model says Thornton on the first line is a good idea.
Well,
mine doesn't. Mine up here. But who knows? I've been wrong about Nick Robertson as a forward.
This episode is brought to you by 1010. Now, you may have read about this in the New York Times or Forbes, and we're excited to tell you all about it. 1010 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today. Using only diamonds responsibly sourced from Botswana, 10 design masters have each produced a uniquely beautiful commitment ring, launching exclusively on January 18th at BlueNile.com. And when they're gone, they're gone. We all know the diamond engagement ring is iconic. It's a timeless expression of the deepest commitment between two people. And with 1010, it's been beautifully re-envisioned in the hands of 10 modern designers working exclusively with sustainably sourced diamonds. If you're making 2021 plans or looking for a unique and meaningful way to celebrate Valentine's Day, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Again, this exciting limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings launches on January 18th, and you can preview it exclusively at BlueNile.com. All right, next division. You guys ready?
No.
Okay, well, you're going to find it anyway. The Discover NHL Central Division, featuring the teams, Carolina, Chicago, and Columbus. Also, Dallas, Detroit, Florida, Nashville, and Tampa Bay.
Yes, the Central Division featuring 5 Eastern Conference teams, 2 of which touch the ocean.
The Atlantic Ocean, yes.
Yes.
But anyway, long story short, let's get into it. Jesse, who are you picking?
A couple of them are super easy. You don't really need explanation. Tampa and Dallas. The Stanley Cup final. I'm going to pick those teams to return to the playoffs. Next up, we have the Carolina Hurricanes. This podcast has been huge on the Hurricanes for the last half decade.
I'm so hot for the Hurricanes, man.
I'm so hot for those Hurricanes, just spinning in there. So I definitely think that they're going to make it back to the playoffs, especially with that D-core. You can't bet against those guys. And last spot in the division is kind of the one that's up in the air for me. So you have Columbus, you got Nashville, you got Florida, you got Chicago, Detroit. Detroit, Chicago, I got to say Florida are all out for me. It's kind of in between Columbus and Nashville. And everything that I saw out of Columbus last playoffs versus the Leafs, I believe that even if they're an underskilled team, that they can find a way to play a system that'll win them enough points to make them into the playoffs.
Great goal.
So my 4 teams are Columbus, Tampa, Dallas, and Carolina.
Good picks, Jesse. Steven.
Tampa, Dallas is super easy. When was the last time the 2 Stanley Cup finalists got to play in the same division? Tampa is not going to have Kucherov. Cool. They won an entire cup without Steven Stamkos. Like, they're good. And, arguably the best goalie in the league. Dallas Stars, wicked tandem. We know they can get all the way to the Stanley Cup final with their backup. So that's obviously good. Heiskanen's a year better. And he's the most important one in that equation. I got Carolina too. I want to see them finally get over the hump.
Yeah.
They just seem doomed to be this really good regular season team that
San Jose East.
Yeah, but San Jose, like,
they made the finals,
conference finals and a final, like, come on, Carolina, we need you to get over the hump there. Play James Reimer more. And number 4, I'm with Jesse on Columbus being good.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they make it.
Mm-hmm.
People have been citing, they were able to get past Bobrovsky leaving and that weird season, and they were able to get past Panarin leaving and that weird season. Okay, this is the 3rd time now. Pierre-Luc Dubois, his teammates, pretty openly mad at him about all this.
Can I ask you, Steve, to interrupt you for just a second? What's been the reason? We know that he asked for a trade, and we're going to get into this later. Nobody knows, right?
I can't tell. No, and
I've been reading. I can't find a thing.
He's essentially asked for like a sign-in trade, which I'm trying to remember the last time we really saw in the NHL, where he's like, "Thank you for my extension and trade me now." Like I've never really seen that, or I can't remember the last.
We'll dive deeper into that later on in the episode, by the way.
Yeah, he's such an important part of that team. I know Panarin was, I know Bobrovsky was. How many more times? Like, this has got to be getting exhausting for the Blue Jackets, who were, by the way, a fringe playoff team anyway. They were in a play-in series with the Leafs. It was 8 and 9. So I have a team that I think is probably on the way down, but they're not down enough to miss the playoffs entirely. The Preds. I got the Preds. I don't think they're going to do a thing, but they're there, and they're going to be there for maybe a year or 2 more, unless David Poile does something big, in order for me to take them seriously.
Okay.
I'm going to go with, like, you compared Carolina to the Sharks, a bit more like the Preds.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I like it.
It's a compliment. It's an insult. It's both.
Accomplissalt. Okay, so I'm going to make, in this particular prediction, a very unpopular choice that I'll probably get burned for, but I'm okay with that. So we look at this again, the Discover NHL Central Division. Who are the locks not to make it? Well, Detroit and Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Who are the locks to make it? Tampa, Dallas, right?
I can't believe Chicago without Taves, man.
Chicago did make the playoffs last year, right?
They made the play-in. Nah.
And you know who was a rock star in that play-in? Taves.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So you've got Chicago and Detroit not making it, Tampa and Dallas for sure making it. Then Carolina, it's hard to see how you could count them out. Nashville, for me, has felt stale for a long, long time. I
don't feel great about that pick.
Well, they've gotten progressively worse, right? They've gotten really, really bad.
Kind of a slow death.
Yeah, and it's funny because they've got some talent there, but the Johansson contract, which at the time to me anyway looked good, looks not good. And they also have, and I can't remember his name right now, the Ottawa Senators trade that was a part of the Duchesne trade. Turris.
Adam, you know what I totally forgot? They don't have Turris.
They don't.
They bought him out, and he's on the Oilers now.
Kyle Turris is an Oiler. Weird. There's going to be a few of those, man. Wow. Holy.
Hornquist on the Panthers. Turris is on the Oilers. There's some really weird ones, man.
And it's funny that you bring up the Florida Panthers, Steven, Because if we are paying attention, we know that Sergei Bobrovsky has a good year and then a bad year and then a good year and a bad year. His bad years are terrible. His good years are Vezina. He wins the Vezina every time he's good. He single-handedly got Todd Richards fired and gave John Tortorella the Jack Adams basically in the same year. This is the game breaker for the Florida Panthers. Sergei Bobrovsky, I believe, is going to have an unbelievable year. It may be the last great year of his career, but I think Sergei Bobrovsky is back this year. And you're going to think I'm crazy, but then let's go through the rest of the Florida Panthers lineup. Not so bad. Huberdeau, Barkov, Duclair. Don't hate that as a first line. Vetrano, Wenberg, Hornquist, second line. Not so bad. And then you get, Noel Acciari, Vinny Hinostroza, not so bad for depth. Carter Verhaeghe, like longtime Leaf prospect a long time ago.
I forgot about all these moves.
Mackenzie Weegar and Aaron Ekblad as your top two. And then you got Yandel and Nudivara. And then, Anton Strawman's on that team.
When did they get Nudivara? Like,
this is not a bad hockey team. And they're only spending $76 million if what I'm reading is correct this year. So they got room to make a move if they need to.
And to your point about Bob, by the way, so he had a 900 save percentage last year. I'm surprised it was that good because it was like an 860 or whatever at some point. He had a 913 the year before. That's okay. Like that's on, I would say, the upper half of average.
League average for starters.
Yeah, like it's not $10 million. If he throws up a 913, that team's in the playoffs, no problem.
Yes. And that's why I think Nashville is not as good. Pekka Rinne is another guy who has a great year and then a terrible year. I think Pekka Rinne and the Nashville Predators are not going to make the playoffs this year, as much as it pains me because I love the Preds. But the Florida Panthers will make it in, at least according to me. Now, I might really regret that one because betting on the Panthers is very risky. Now, I do want to quickly talk about Patrick Laine and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Patrick Laine, we know, has long documented history with the Jets. Tough negotiations with Kevin Cheveldayoff. Believes he should be paying with Mark Scheifele, but did really gel with Stastny when they went to the conference finals against the Golden Knights. Stastny is now back. And, Laine came in with a good attitude and obviously he had the press conference and everybody was talking about that. The Pierre-Luc Dubois situation, as we said earlier, seems a bit strange, mostly because we don't know why. Normally it's like, well, the player doesn't like the coach or, you hear whispers of anything. This was a shock. And it seems to have started when he was a restricted free agent and other teams were allowed to talk to him. And Jarmo Kekalainen is a guy, and Pierre LeBrun mentioned this in his Athletic article about this. Jarmo Kekalainen drops the hammer on restricted free agents. He is tough. Notoriously tough on restricted free agents. You start with Johansson, which turned into Seth Jones, great trade. Then you had the Josh Anderson stuff, but Darren Ferris is his agent and no negotiation is going to be pleasant with Darren Ferris.
No.
Then you have Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was a Leaf killer. He was unbelievable in that series. And they are, and frankly, Pierre-Luc Dubois is a part of, should be their number one guy going forward. Oh, yeah. And that's the guy, if you're going to spend money, you spend it on Pierre-Luc Dubois, but they didn't.
What a great pick, by the way, by Kekalainen. A lot of people were making fun of him because he had like a half season of center in the QMJHL, and they picked him ahead of Jesse Puljujärvi, who was supposed to be slam dunk number 3, and they got Dubois there. Mm-hmm. And good pick. I remember being there and being like, that's a stupid pick.
Good
Geniuses.
But stupid handling of it. You've alienated now your number one guy, the best guy on the team.
Right.
Well, the future.
Now, and it's you get your reputation for how you deal with things. And, we've talked about how the Blue Jackets dealt with Panarin and how they dealt with Bobrovsky. Well, those were two different things because they were UFAs. So, okay, he handled Josh Anderson this way and he handled it this way and this way and this way. You know what happened in the middle of all that might have changed things, might have changed the perception of how things should go in restricted free agency for the Blue Jackets?
The Leafs?
They tried to offer Sheet Marner.
Oh, yeah, they did.
The Blue Jacket. If I'm Dubois, I'm like, what'd you offer Mitch?
All right.
It was $13
what'd you offer
million.
Mitch? I want that.
Send that over here.
What'd you offer Mitch? Okay, I got 75% of what Mitch got. Give me that. Oh, you're not even going to give me that.
You're going to give me less than half.
There's going to be a lot of how do I say this? There's going to be a lot of players who have to decide how personally they want to take things over the next year or two, because Jarmo Kekalainen might be notoriously heavy-handed with restricted free agents, but we're in a pandemic, man. Like everyone, they're selling the helmets and the division names, and by God, before you know it, the underwear and the jock straps. We don't know, but teams are in a very difficult spot financially, and no one who thought they were going to get paid this offseason did. You can look at Alex Pietrangelo and go, well, I'd trade spots with him. And yeah, I bet you would. But under normal circumstances, Pietrangelo might be getting $10 million a year. And this was anything but normal.
Right.
This offseason. So there are going to be a lot of hurt feelings. And they're not wrong and they're not right either. Like you got to get what you're worth. And for a lot of guys, it's just not available.
Right. The money's just not there. The money's disappeared because the world's changed. Yep. And that's why you want to get your money as soon as you can, right? But for Pierre-Luc Dubois and Patrik Laine, it seems like there's an instant swap there for the Jets and for the Blue Jackets. They did go out and get Stastny, the Jets did, specifically to play with Laine. And that Laine can score 50 goals if he's set up with the right guy. The problem is... it doesn't seem like the Jets are in any hurry to move him, and it doesn't seem like the Blue Jackets are in any hurry to move Pierre-Luc Dubois. We do know that Jarmo Kekalainen has been very interested in Patrik Laine for a couple of seasons now. Does it not make sense that this eventually happens? It's the NHL. They'll drag it out till it's absolutely dead in the water, and then they'll make a move, and we'll all be so bored of it by that point that it will barely pass as news. But chances are this swap happens, right?
No. Well, if Dubois wants to go to Winnipeg, I'd be curious to know why. And it's nothing against Winnipeg or the Jets. He doesn't have a no-trade
clause. He wants out of Columbus. That's all he gets.
Right. But remember, so we've talked to CJ now and Brian Burke and I think a few others about this. A lot of players, even Canadians, have all 7 Canadian markets on their no-trade list. Mm-hmm. So you're Dubois. You've already signed you've signed a modest deal compared to what you thought you would get, compared to your market value in terms of term and AAV. And then you're going to go to Canada and get even less. You sure?
Well, I don't think that's the thing, is it's not his choice, Steve.
But you can, if you withdraw, if it's obvious that you're going to be going to Winnipeg, you withdraw your trade request.
Well, but because
then your trade request is, I would like to be traded to, please keep me here.
But they could still trade you.
They could.
Yeah.
So do you want to request?
It's not like you're getting nothing back. If you're Jarmo Kekalainen, you're getting a guy who could score 40 goals with his eyes closed.
Oh, I know why Kekalainen does it. I don't know why Dubois will want it.
But I don't think it matters. What I'm saying is I don't think it matters what he wants. He doesn't have any trade protection.
Outs.
Well, no, I don't think. Again, I think so he's got no trade protection. I just checked his contract.
Right.
So that means that when you request a trade, that means I would rather be anywhere else but here. Because
they can ship you anywhere.
They can ship you anywhere.
Yeah.
That's
also,
weird.
A fun fact from 31 Thoughts this week. Dubois' dad, Eric, coaches in the Winnipeg organization. He's the assistant coach for the Moose, I think it is. Yeah,
really.
So Eric Dubois is already in the Winnipeg organization. Maybe Pierre wants to come over.
That is quite interesting.
So the Jets would have Dubois.
That's good. Oh.
Yep.
The Steve Dangle podcast with Adam Wilde and this.
All right.
Oh God. It's now. Can you imagine Patrik Laine? I am finally free from the shackles of Paul Maurice, and you go to Columbus to be with John Tortorella.
Okay, Patrick, you're going to play shorthanded. I expect you to dive in front of pucks, please. Let's go.
He said Duclair could not play because he didn't like how he was defensively. How do you think he's going to treat you there, Patty?
Florida.
Yeah. How do you think he's going to treat you there, Patty? You think that's going to be great? Oh my God, John Tortorella, he doesn't care. He'll take you off both power plays if he doesn't like you.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't care.
He
doesn't care. He does not care. And plus, John Tortorella has made enough money in his coaching career where he is like, he's got, excuse the term, but he's got fuck you money. It's like, I don't really, I could take or leave this. I want to be a coach and I'm going to do what I need to do to be the coach because I've got enough money where I could retire tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
Adam, for John Tortorella, $5 is fuck you money.
That's true. That's true.
His name could easily be fuck and you.
Very, very, very true.
On the attendance, it would be you fuck.
So let's talk to just a couple of things here. Obviously, we know that Dallas will probably be allowed to. We talked to Chris about this. Allow fans in the building. We know the Panthers will be allowed up to 25% capacity, which for those keeping track is about 5,000 people. Now that's about what the Panthers draw every game anyway, so it's not like it's a huge change. But I'm kidding. The Panthers draw 14,000 a game, so it's not bad. But it's very interesting, from the perspective, you have to understand if you're not listening from Canada right now, specifically from Ontario or Quebec, which is currently considering a lockdown and a curfew, we are all locked down, and our case levels are, in Ontario, I think it's about 3,000 a day. Texas had 12,000 yesterday, new COVID cases, and people are out. And it's just, it's two fundamentally opposed ways of looking at this pandemic, but it is sort of shocking as a Canadian to see that based on the perspective that we have, which is I can't even go to the local hardware store because it's not allowed to be open. That's how crazy different this is.
There's a lot of differences. Be glad you guys haven't had Twitter open this whole show.
I have. I've seen what's happening.
Shit.
We're not talking about it.
No.
But I think it's very, very interesting, and it will be very interesting to see who at the beginning of the season allows it and who by the end of the season will allow it. As I said to you before, I think that if you have the right protocols in place, because we're just looking at a blanket tweet, the Panthers will allow 5,000 people in. Okay, well, we know that Florida is a bit of a mess always. They're using at a Florida hospital, they're using Eventbrite to put out the vaccine. Eventbrite is the same program we used when we used to do our little cinema things where we'd play a game and host the night. Remember that? We used Eventbrite with Panago. Yes.
You made that up.
No, that's a real story.
At the review cinema, we used Eventbrite to send out free tickets to SGP listeners so they could come down to review and watch Saturday Night Hockey with us.
And that is how hospitals in Florida are handling the vaccine rollout.
What a bunch of weirdos. Why can't they just let it sit in the freezer for weeks on end like us?
Like us, yeah. Our vaccines are here. They're just like, you know what? We haven't planned, bro. Like, you had a year. You had a year.
We've tried nothing, and we're all out of ideas. Here's a cheesecake, you fucks. Anyway, sorry.
So, anyway, long story short, it's going to be interesting who allows it at the beginning and who by the end will allow it. And I think, given what we know about the sanitary conditions about other places, I don't see any reason why, and especially because there could be lawsuits and that sort of thing if the NHL isn't careful. I don't see any reason why you couldn't, given the vaccine, maybe 25% of the population's vaccinated. If you have a vaccine passport, which they're talking about here in Canada, and you can prove you've been vaccinated and you come in with a mask on, why not?
I think we're still at least a few months away from that, but no, I agree with you.
I'm not saying yet. I'm talking 3-4 months down the road, but by the playoffs, it's conceivable. Is it not?
It is. It can change fast in both directions, right? So I remember, man, it's crazy. When we were talking about the Eric Lindros tournament for Easter Seals, there were 85 cases in the province.
Wow.
And we were talking about playing. We were talking about playing hockey, and we were talking about the protocols for how to still do the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
The last I checked, there were 3,300. Now, if the cases in the province are, let's say, under 500, and a lot of people have been vaccinated, and you can prove you've been vaccinated, and you're wearing a mask, and it's, I don't know what, 10% capacity, 20%, why not?
Right.
Why not? No, I do agree with you. I'm just, for me, it's all Barney the dinosaur imagination. It's, yes, I agree with the theory. Of course I do. Of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just, I'm having a real hard time picturing it.
Yeah. I feel like even if there was like a concrete, on June 1st, the world is back to normal and COVID's gone away. I think right now that's so hard for people who are living in lockdown situations like ours to look at. That's the mood it feels like right now, where it's like I can't even see the light at the end of the tunnel right now. I'm not even far enough down the tunnel to see a little speckle. It's just all darkness. So yeah, when you propose that, it's like, yeah, that's great, but that's not a concept in my mind.
I'm looking forward to getting back to this. You see that behind me? That's a picture of us at a live show together. I have a picture of you two in my room.
Mm-hmm.
And we shook hands with people and we hugged.
Yeah.
And you and I, after everyone left, we kissed on the mouth for hours. Until the sun came up. It was great.
That happened.
It happened.
A lot of people, they're not allowed in their workplaces. Like, I think that's a reality for most people. And they're like, I'd like to leave my house before I even think about going to a game.
Right. My bet, the hockey arenas and the basketball arenas open up before the workplaces do. That's my bet. Money, guys, money. Just saying, money.
Oh, yeah.
So with all that in mind, good luck to everybody down there. Anybody going through this, this is, hopefully the beginning of the end. And, with the vaccine roll, like you said, Steve, at least the Floridians are vaccinating people. Ontario, it's like, well, we need a plan before we need to plan the plan before we roll out the plan that we've planned.
Yeah. I'm just so fucking mad, man. I'm just. I know.
Let's not go.
I know. No,
we don't need that.
Let's not.
We're not getting into specifics.
All right.
No, you're right.
We'll just drop it. Elliot said that the pitch to Thornton to bring him to Toronto was to play on the first line.
And why not?
So he's going to get to start the season with Matthews and Marner.
When they inevitably take him off, he's going to get taken off.
Yeah, but I think
he's 41.
Yeah, I think you manage his time with Hyman. I think they're going to flip back and forth. And what if he plays 10 minutes a night on the first line and plays 15 minutes total? What's the harm in that? He can do that. If you can't do that.
First line plays like that.
Well, I don't know. They're trying stuff, man.
They don't manage Bergeron, Pasternak, Marchand. They go, have fun. Whee!
Well, one of the things that I read, and James Myrtle put this in his article about this, is it may allow them to start the Matthews line in offensive zones like they do with Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak. Those guys get 61% of their starts in the O zone. So if you can have Matthews and Marner and Thornton in the O zone 60% of the time, not only do their stats go through the roof, but Thornton doesn't have to skate end to end.
Yeah.
Right? And if you've got Riley and Bodie back there. Yeah.
Like Marner and Matthews carry that defensive load in terms of forwards.
Yes, they have to.
And they should.
If you've got Riley, Bodie, or you've got Muzzin Hall, I think it's manageable on the back end. I do.
Yeah. Adam, I love you. It's Brody.
Sorry, Bodie.
Sorry, you said it 19 times. Sorry.
I know. What the hell's wrong with me? I know it's Brody. Why did I say that?
Because you missed Troy Bodie.
I do. He was a big fan. Big fan. Also, big fan of Olympic skier Bodie Miller. Anyway, long story short, there's a lot more wheeling back there than there would have been before. Now, Muzzin is not the fastest guy in the world, but he manages his ice properly. And it'll be interesting to see where Lettinen plays too.
Mm-hmm. Lettinen's a huge X factor on this team, and he's a great example of, well, how do you predict his impact on the team? He's like he's a 26-year-old guy who's spent his whole career in the KHL.
Nah, the computer can do it.
Stop it, Jesse.
Then there's the factor of
Jesse will get 0 angry tweets after this, by the way. I'm not bitter.
There's also the factor of, like in 2013, there are players who have literally played 0 games. Mm-hmm. And players who have played many. And then there's Lettinen, who has played many, but has not played for so long that does it even matter? You know what I mean? He played from, I want to say September till the end of November, and now he hasn't played for over a month.
I think it matters.
Yeah, but like how much? Like, so how do you predict his impact? But with the roster decision, well, so far everything can change. VC with Tavares and Nylander, I think really work.
Don't hate it.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
This is a guy, VC's a 15-goal guy. up until the Sabres. And the Sabres are awful and were awful last year. So like nobody was good on the Sabres last year except for Jack Eichel, right? Fair?
He's got to, yes. And he's got to know his job on that line.
Mm-hmm.
Goals.
You're the worker.
Yeah.
You're the worker, and you take advantage of the puck when everyone else is focused on the other guy's making $17 million or whatever.
Well, because Nylander's going to be wheeling around the zone, holding onto the puck.
Net front.
Tavares
net
is
front.
going to be net front. I would think Tavares is net front.
No, Nylander, net front guy.
He is a net front guy. He is.
That whole season.
He did. You're right.
That line to me is the line you park in front of the net.
Oh,
and
yeah.
VC's like a relatively big guy.
Mm-hmm.
That line could wreak havoc. I really like it.
Yeah.
Big fan.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So there's lots of that to go through, and we'll do a full Leaf season preview next episode when we know a little bit more about what's going on. As Chris said, we can't even get in. We don't know what they're doing.
We do.
And Wayne Simmons, and I know this is the time of year that everybody's like, I feel great.
Best shape of my life.
Every team's undefeated. Every player's Stanley Cup ready. You know?
I do want to say, though, that for guys like Thornton and Simmons who have battled long-term injuries, I think Thornton's had both legs replaced at this point.
Knees.
The fact that they've had this much time, Simmons for sure needed it. Probably is to their benefit. He probably does. He said he feels better than he has in 3 or 4 years. I can believe that. 7 or 8 months off to heal those injuries. Yeah.
I think the reason, I don't think players are liars. I think they come to camp and they say they're in the best shape they've been in a long time. They haven't taken a body check in 9 months. It's a great feeling, I got to imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine doing that for a living and then you haven't been hit by another human for like almost a year.
When was the last time you were hit by another human? Steve?
Like actually, like on purpose?
Yeah, like physically crushed.
At hockey a couple years ago by accident.
Did we see that? We saw that on didn't you put
when
that
I'm wearing
on
the blue
Instagram?
jersey.
Is that the video where you got crushed?
Yeah, I have a spot. It's something that connects. It's something that connects your like chest to your shoulder or something like that. It clicks like permanently now because I just got fucking destroyed.
One hit
In my entire life, or no, I've been hit.
adult life.
I've had 2 really bad hits in hockey. Both were complete accidents, but like, and both times I'm just like, how do people live this way?
Right.
Like,
Right.
Holy shit.
Anyway, we'll get into the press conference now because we are running out of time. Jesse?
I don't have questions today.
Oh, he doesn't have any questions.
I didn't
Well,
solicit
fine.
for them. I think.
Give me some answers then.
We had a jam-packed show. We do have one note. The podcast can now be found at a new location. Adam, do you want to take this over?
Yeah, that's right. So you're going to be able to find the podcast on the Athletic app. You can check it out ad-free if you are a subscriber to the Athletic, and you can find it in all the normal places as well. I do know, Jesse, that the hosting has changed a little bit too.
Yes, but that won't change for anybody.
That won't change for anybody.
Yeah, nobody will see where it's hosted now.
Okay, well, but is it available on SoundCloud? Because I know there are people that were listening on SoundCloud.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Nothing will change. It'll just be found in a brand new location, also on the Athletic app.
Amazing. So if you want to listen to this show ad-free at any time, you can by checking it out through the Athletic app, and you can subscribe there. And that is all we got for today, guys, I think.
Can I add one more note?
What's the note?
Oh.
So I just got sent a tweet by Berkshire.
Oh.
So it's a tweet from Josh Yohe, who covers the Penguins.
Yes.
Sidney Crosby leaves the scrimmage and heads to the locker room. Received a big hit earlier, and his skates have been driving him nuts today. Not sure if his departure is health or equipment related. And then Ryan Wilson, a.k.a. Gunnar Stahl on hockey Twitter, responds with 3 words in a quote tweet. By Cody Ceci.
He was hit by Cody Ceci.
Supposedly.
Why is Cody Ceci hitting anyone in practice? What, like, especially Sid?
Dude, I saw a clip of, I can't remember who it was on the Oilers, hitting Connor McDavid, and McDavid barreled into the net, just like he did when he snapped his PCL. And I'm like, oh my God, do not, just have non-contact until the season begins.
You don't need to do this. You don't need to do this.
Oh my God.
You've all thrown hits before. You don't need to do this.
Oh, sorry. I know you wanted to end the show there, but that was just too Too unbelievable.
Feeling a little better about my non-Penguins playoff thing. Feeling a little better about that. Not good for Sid though. We don't like that. So we'll monitor that situation. We will be back next Wednesday, and then as of the start of the season, 2 weeks from now, we will be switching our schedule to Mondays and Thursdays. So you will get us at the beginning of the week and the end of the week, and we will be back to 2 episodes a week, probably until I don't know late August. Like when the heck is this season ending anyway? Who the hell knows?
Supposed to be done by the end of July.
Sure. Okay. Well, if that's
you
when it
believe me.
ends, then that's what it'll be. So we got a big long stretch of double episode weeks ahead of us, and we're very, very excited to get back on track. All of 2020, there was only 5.5 months of actual hockey. That's crazy.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Thank you for, if you're listening to this right now and you've been here the whole time, my God, I love you. Like you've been listening to this hockey podcast the whole time, and there's been hockey for less than half the time.
Right in 2020. So this year alone, and then by May of this year, May 15th of this year, we'll have surpassed basically the amount of hockey that we had all of last year. Or I guess it's June 1st. Even so, we're very, very lucky and very fortunate to be through I think the worst of it, and so excited to get rolling. Some exciting stuff on the way for the show as well. So we'll be getting into that in the coming weeks. And in the meantime, we love you, and we will see you next Wednesday.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.